All right, welcome. Thank you so much, Sheri Orr, for being with me today. This is Sheri Orr. She is a licensed professional counselor and a marriage coach. And the reason why I wanted to share with you our chat together today is because one of the things that is really important to me as I work with my clients, is talking about kind of that maintenance, that self-care when it comes to marriage.
Mm-hmm.
One of those things that we often kind of push off to the side, or we say we're going to make it important, and then we, with all the busy hustle and bustle of life, we just kind of forget or don't take the time for it. So I really appreciate your willingness to come on here with me today and just kind of chat about how we can make strong marriages and regular support in our marriages a part of everyday life. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So to get us started, if you don't mind, could you just share with us, what is a relationship coach?
Well, what I like to do with people, I've been a marriage therapist, and I've seen too many marriages where people come in at divorce's door, basically. Mm-hmm. And they are basically telling me, if this doesn't work, we're going to divorce. And, in my mind, I'm thinking you could have come in years ago, and invested in your marriage to where you don't hate each other, you don't have resentment, you don't despise each other. So my goal has been to have someone come in on the earlier stages, hopefully, and really talk about, what do you want your marriage to look like? What kind of spouse do you want to be? And let's put some definition, let's visualize that and put some goals to it so we can work toward that. That way you don't end up at divorce's door years later.
Absolutely. That's so important, because then oftentimes it's too late, or it's just so much harder too. Plus, why not enjoy your marriage along the way instead of waiting?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, we put so much money and time into our careers. Think of how much money we spent on college, and then all the continuing education that we do, and we spend a lot of money on our weddings too. But then after we're married, what are we doing to feed into our marriage? It's just, life happens. Yes, we get busy with work and everything else, but unless we invest some time into it, it's just you're gonna start getting that chasm in your relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So how is growing in and working on our relationships a part of wellness?
Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is stress is the number one contributor to illness.
Yeah.
So if you have any kind of relationship discord, you're going to be stressed. And then that's going to contribute into how well you are, how you feel about things in general, your outlook on life. I just remember seeing so many different studies of people's satisfaction in life, in school, in work, whatever, based on the relationships that they have. And, we think, well, it has to be a healthy relationship. And I think you can have unhealthy relationships, because we have people in our lives that we're forced to be in relationship with that are not going to be healthy, but we can make them functional. So if you can focus on making them functional in some way, then that's going to reduce your stress. And then, your wellness is going to be better in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the people that I serve, they're busy moms, they're family caregivers. How can they make time for marriage in the busy schedules that they have?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if you've ever heard of the concept of sand time. If you can envision a clear vase, like a tall, thin vase, and if you put pebbles in it, which would be larger pebbles, which would be like my work schedule, things I'm taking my kids everywhere, the doctor's appointments that I have to take my parents to, those are the big chunks of our time. And we fill that vase up, and then we think, well, we're done. I have no room for anything else. But you actually have room for smaller pebbles that could fit in there. And that might be a 15-minute coffee. Like, okay, let's between appointments, I'm going to meet my husband at a coffee shop and we're going to just sit for 15 minutes, get a cup of coffee and chat. And that's going to be something to feed into our relationship. At the end of the day, when he comes home from work or when I come home from work, we're going to turn off the television. We're going to, turn off the news. We're going to set the kids, in the playroom or something. And we're just going to sit with each other on the couch and just talk with each other and go, tell me about your day. How was your day? Mm-hmm. That's a little bit more increments that we can find. Mm-hmm. And then the sand time is once that vase is full of the larger, stones and the smaller pebbles, you can pour sand in there. There's still room for stuff. Mm-hmm. And so that might look like text messages. I remember you had a rough meeting coming up in about a half hour. Just want to let you know I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you. Just a real quick thing. And how mm-hmm. good does that make you feel, when you get that text message? So there are smaller things that we can do throughout the day. They're the bigger chunks. You want to try and find date nights. You want to try and find a weekend away if you can, but definitely look for those smaller times as well.
Mm-hmm. Caring for our loved ones can be really stressful on a marriage. What suggestions do you have for insulating a marriage from those kinds of stressors?
Well, two things come to mind: expectations and boundaries. Mm-hmm. Setting boundaries as far as what am I capable of doing? What are my strengths that I can, contribute to what, taking care of the family member. And really setting those boundaries and saying, okay, these are the things that I can do, and these are the things I cannot do, but let's brainstorm things, that we can come up with that will take care of those other things. So maybe there's 3 siblings and we have to all talk together and find out who can do what, and let's make sure we're clear on those roles and those responsibilities. Mm-hmm. There was a time period where my dad, he lived, it was a 3-hour round trip to visit him. Mm-hmm. And he needed help getting to doctor's appointments, getting prescriptions filled, getting all kinds of things. And there was a time when my brother could do a lot of that, who lived closer to him. But when he got married and had kids, he didn't have that time anymore. So we're like, Dad, you really need to come up with another alternative, because both of us have our families and we live out, in a different city from you. So mm-hmm. he agreed to hire someone that would go pick up his prescriptions, take him to his doctor's appointments. And then when he had, like larger treatment team things going on, that was my strength. So I would go and I would participate in that. If he was in, the ICU, which happened a few times, and then had to step down to a nursing facility, my role was to step in and meet with the social worker, because I knew their language. We could talk treatment plans and not just, oh, well, he's going to be here X amount of days, Mm-hmm. So I could, rely on my strengths, and I could set the boundary of this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do. Along with that then is the expectations. Because I think a lot of people make assumptions and they don't communicate what their expectations are and what the other person's is. So with couples, especially if you're dealing with, like, let's say it was my parents, a communication to have or a discussion to have would be, how often am I going to go and then take care of my dad? How often am I going to go make visits? How many, different things will I be doing each week? Am I going to be going to his house and making sure different things in the house are taken care of? Well, I need to have that conversation with my husband and say, are we on the same page as far as how much I'm going to give to him? Or does it feel like I'm giving too much? Because I think, you get torn because you want to take care of them, but you have your own family. And when we don't talk about what those expectations are, the disappointment comes in, the resentment comes in. Well, they don't care for me as much as they care for them. And you might even have a parent start to say that, and just reminding them, I love you. This is what I can do for you. Because I can't do these other things doesn't mean that I don't love you. Let's work together on how we can get that taken care of. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really important. I think it's really easy to get kind of stuck in a situation where you just hoped for the best and not really talked about boundaries or expectations, and then you get really stuck.
Yeah.
And so it's important to kind of be upfront with that. And when you notice those things aren't working for you, to kind of tweak them to be even better for both of you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's really important. One of the things that comes up a lot is is communication. You know, I think classically and probably truth, you know, that it's true that couples, when they say, okay, what is our biggest struggle right now? Communication is the one that comes up time and time again, which is a huge topic, but just kind of thinking, you know, on a simple level, what are some ways that couples can improve relationships or improve communication?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is you cannot expect somebody to be a mind reader. You know, if you're going into the kitchen slamming cabinet doors, that doesn't translate into something that's usable language. If you're upset about something, sit down and say, I'm upset. Can I share with you what's going on with me? Because we'll play that game and think, well, if they knew what I was thinking, then, you know, they would really care. And they, you know, why aren't they noticing? Nobody can be a mind reader. It just is not going to happen. So be very clear on what it is you want to say, and approach it in a respectful way, not an accusatory way. Because if I come to you and say, you don't care about us, you've never cared about us, you're selfish, nobody's going to hear that. I would shut down. I'd be like, okay, I'm going in another room because this is not productive. You know, I wouldn't want to have that conversation. Where if you say, these are some things I'm observing, and this is the conclusion I'm drawing, like maybe, you know, you're giving so much time to this other thing, and I'm feeling like we're not as important as that other thing. Then you can have a conversation about that. And, you know, and it opens up an invitation to talk instead of, you know, shutting it down. So don't be a mind reader, be clear, be respectful, you know. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so good. And those are things that really take not very much time at all, but it can really change and shift the perspective and what's going on. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for all of this great information today. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in talking to you more?
Well, there's a couple ways. One is they can go onto my website, which is marriagebydesign.coach. And on my contact page, I actually have a calendar that I have set aside time for consultations. And so people can have a free 15-minute consultation just to talk with me and find out, you know, what is it you really want to accomplish? Are we a good fit? That kind of thing. So they can go right into my calendar if they want to do that. Otherwise, they can call me. I have to look at my card because I don't know my number memorized. We don't.
Yes, I know. You don't need to. Yeah.
My work number is in my phone. So it's 909-907-4374. So they could just call that as well and leave a message. But
right. Awesome. And I might add that you meet with individuals too from a distance. So by phone, in video too, by phone.
Yeah, I do
video. So it's also extremely convenient, busy schedules too.
Yeah, it really is. So I've had clients as, you know, far away as New York. So.
Okay, that's fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I really appreciate this.
Bye.